Hi guys, am I audible, visible?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good, good. So let's begin our session for today. Keep the back and neck straight. Sit comfortably. And gently close your eyes. Just and as you exhale, gently shift your attention to your body. Become aware of your posture. Gently come back to your breathing. Now begin to consciously deepen your breath. Slow, long, and deep inhalations. Slow, long, and deep exhalations. We will open today's session by chanting Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis. Take a deep inhalation for Om. 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 Shanti. 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 Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together and begin to rub your palms together. Place your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes, coming back with a big smile. Namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So, today we are going to talk about a very interesting text again. So, in previous few classes, we have talked already about Patanjali Yoga Sutra and also the various texts of Hatha Yoga, which will help you to gain more insight into the kind of practices that you guys do. And today there is another very important yogic text which is called, briefly, it is called Gita. Okay, so the shortest name that is given to this text, it is actually Gita. I will tell you the full name also, but this is the shortest name by which this text is known. And this is a very, very important text of yoga in general. And this text is actually, it was written a lot of years back, but again, like all yogic texts, this still holds a lot of relevance today. And if you again happen to read this text today, you will find something or the other which will fit into your life, and you will find the correct way of leading your life, of managing your life, how you can approach the life with a more harmonious view that has been given in Bhagavad Gita, right? So I will write down the full name of this text: Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad, SRIMAD, Srimad Bhagavad, BHAGAWAD, Bhagavad, GITA, and Upanishad, UPANISHAD. Right, this is the full name of the text, and I will tell you why I'm focusing on the full name rather than just a part of the name of the text, because the name in itself is telling us the kind of aspects that this text can cover and the kind of knowledge you can gain out of this text alone, right? So this text, the meaning, if you are wondering what does this mean, so it is actually, this means Gita is actually Geet is when we sing. Okay, so this was actually Sanskrit in general also is a very beautiful and soft language. If you are talking something very harshly in Sanskrit also, it seems very, very polite, very, very melodious in nature, right? So when this text, like it's in Sanskrit language only, so this was actually sung, right? So this text was sung. So let me just write down the meaning. So the supreme reality, okay, supreme reality was being sung. Not just anything, but the supreme reality was being sung. Like if you read this text, it is very much in touch with the ultimate realities of life and how one should lead uh, the life. And this text was sung by God. So Bhagwan is a God. Okay, so I wrote down Shri Bhagwan. So Bhagwan is actually God. So Supreme Reality sung by Shri SRI Bhagwan BHAG. Sorry, so sorry. BHAGWAN. I would want to apologize if my voice is not very loud today, or my flow is not seeming that okay. So this this text was actually sung by God Himself, right? And this term Upanishad, Upanishads. Yeah, trying to. Upanishads are, Upanishads you would have heard of many times, right? So I told you the essential texts were Vedas, right? In Indian context, if you're talking. So a base was Vedas, and the Vedas, everything was, captured. The essence was captured in Upanishads, but the Upanishads are also so many in number. Some claim that there are 108 Upanishads, right? So now who will read so many texts, right? So who will have the time to go through so many stories, so many teachings, right? So then this one text came, right? Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads. So if you are a person who is not too much also interested in spirituality, okay, in India, by default we start following certain things, like outside also I think it's the same, right? So whatever your parents believe in, you start following that thing. So same thing in India. So by default, Bhagavad Gita is there in our homes, right? And some part or the other we know about it, right? So uh, if it's actually said that if one is unable to take out the time to gain an understanding of any other thing, right, they should keep Bhagavad Gita, because it captures the essence now of all Upanishads. So the Upanishads are capturing the essence of all the Vedas, and now the Bhagavad Gita is capturing the essence of all the Upanishads, right? So it is said that, in India, it is also seen that people who don't know the meaning of the text just know how to chant it by default, because from one generation to the other, family to family, it is passed on. So, people who only chant Bhagavad Gita every day, they are not concerned what the text is meaning, or they have no idea what the text is, even they have seen drastic change in their life, right? So it's not necessary, the words and the sounds, they reveal themselves to you. It's also said, the book, it reveals itself to you. The more times you read it, the book begins to reveal itself to you. So if I don't know, if for you guys, if you have ever read a book and you really liked it, and then after some years you read it again, or after some time you read it again, you found something completely new that you might have missed earlier, right? So books, words, sounds, especially when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, the way in which, because it has been sung, right? So you also, when you chant it, there is some, melody that you add, right? So it reveals the sound, the vibration, it reveals to you each and every time, what the text is actually essentially trying to say. So for a common person, I would highly recommend to buy this book. Okay, initially just buy it and keep it, because right now you are covering it in yoga, so you have good motivation to just go ahead and buy it, right? Nobody is asking you to read it, but you can look for translations from Sanskrit to English, yes. And if you happen to be a Hindi reader, right, so it's better because Sanskrit is closer to Hindi. It's a little bit far away from English. But even if you buy in English, if you read it, it's going to reveal so many, secrets of life, which, our schooling system, it doesn't teach us, how we have to be in a situation, how we have to conduct ourselves in a particular situation, how we have to conduct our tasks, everything, it has been captured within this text, and it is beautiful. Beautifully it has been captured. So this text is in conversation form, right? There is conversation. So whenever you have a good conversation with a friend, with a family member, with a colleague, you know you end up remembering so much, right, out of that conversation. Like you have doubts, okay, so you write down the doubts, then I clear those, then you ask again, then I clear those. So these doubts, the doubts that you're clearing, you will remember the answers. Why? Because initially I was teaching very generally, but then something personal popped up due to which you asked something. Right now, that thing is your your life bringing up some doubt or query, right? So when one is in conversation, it is easier to remember the things, right? And when you read Bhagavad Gita, not only is there a conversation, the questions that are asked, they are so relatable, right? They are so like general confusion that you and I go through, a warrior went through years back, right? And that entire thing, captures the person to, understand, oh, I have been living my life this way. Maybe I should try to, make this change, right? So, 4 schools of yoga we are going to cover. They are all a part of Bhagavad Gita. And I will also give you references where it is present in Bhagavad Gita. So, if you like that, you can go ahead and read that chapter. So, Bhagavad Gita has different chapters, and depending on which school, so each chapter is a particular school of yoga. It's giving a particular perspective on how you can approach yoga. So you can go ahead and read the one that you like the most, right? So that is another good thing about Bhagavad Gita, that, like I said, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it's good to read it in a flow. But when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, you can definitely jump to the chapter that you want to deeply understand, or a school of yoga that you want to deeply understand. So there are total 18 chapters in this text. And for you today, what you can do is you can take out the names of all the 18 chapters, right? So it will give you an insight. What schools of yoga are being covered in Bhagavad Gita? And this will help you, you will become aware, okay, this is also another school that is there. This is also another school that is there. And, doubt creates the best kind of texts, right? That is why Upanishads were also very, very gripping, because everything, the doubt, what the doubt, the kind of answer the doubt brings up, it's not a general answer, or it's not something what should be ideally done. You put it into your life, you can see that happening and how I can change this thing, right? So Bhagavad Gita is very, very relatable. A lot of people around the world, be it Hindus or non-Hindus, this text is not a Hindu text. It's a text of how you should lead your life. So many corporations today, corporate world is incorporating, you know, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita so that their employees can function better, they can manage their time better. And on a personal level, if you are planning to take this text into your life, you will understand how you manage the life better. Currently, maybe in some aspect of your life, something is not going okay, right? Means there is a lack of management over there, right? So how do you manage it? Who is going to tell you, right? Who is going to tell you what is the correct way of management? This book, again, be it any phase of your life, this book will come in very, very handy, right? Even in our homes, we have multiple copies, and everybody in my family likes to read Bhagavad Gita, or sometimes you even have discussions. So if you have other people in your life who are really interested in general understanding of life and philosophy, even they can read the text. One doesn't have to be religious or even spiritual. People just read it out of an intellect also, like intellectual entertainment. But you will miss the point if you just let it be intellectual. It's okay to start with the intellectual level, but it has to come down to the implementation. And this text is the shortest route that you get. Okay. So let me give you a little bit story and background of this text, because it is very, very interesting, right? So Bhagavad Gita, this is a text which is a part of another big text or epic, you can say, called Mahabharata. M-A-H-A, Mahabharat, Mahabharata, right? So particular portion of this text became very famous, again, commonly known as Gita. Okay. So what is happening in this text? It's very important to understand, because when you reach this text, when you read this text, you need to know what is going on, right? Because conversation is happening in the context of something, right? So there were actually two brothers. Okay. One, you don't have to worry yourselves too much with the names, but just a general understanding that there were two brothers. One was Pandu and one was Dhritarashtra. Okay, two brothers. Now Pandu, he had 5 children known as Pandavas. So Pandavas and Kauravas form the main, basis of the entire story. Now, because Pandu, he passed away at a very young age, and his children were very, very small. So Dhritarashtra, he decided that he's going to adopt all the 5 sons of Pandu, and he's going to make sure that they grow up with all of their cousins, and they face no difficulty in life, right? So Pandavas and Kauravas, they grew up together, right? In the same home, they had everything that they were given. It was of the same level, because both of them were sons of kings. Okay, both Pandu and Dhritarashtra, they were kings at that point of time, right? So now Pandavas were very, very talented. Some people, they are born very talented. Their talent shows, right? They don't have to specifically go out of the way and do the effort. I'm not saying they don't do the effort, but there is some inborn talent within all of us. We are all by default good at something, right? So Pandavas were in general very, very talented, right? Especially when it came to the teachings of their time, like, archery, these kinds of things. So Pandavas were quite talented in these things. And the Kauravas, they were also very, very good. But then there is a slight difference between somebody who has a natural knack for doing something, right? So now both of them, as they were growing up, they had the same guru also. They were being taught by the same person, right? And Pandavas, they gained much more appreciation, right? And one point came when both of them, both the Kauravas and the Pandavas, they grew up, and the Kauravas were quite jealous of this, uh, you know, talent of the Pandavas, right? They were quite jealous. Okay. So what they decided as a like way of maintaining the peace, they would live separately, they would rule separate areas, and they would lead their lives harmoniously, right? So this thing was decided, and both the Kauravas and the Pandavas, again, they got separated and they were ruling their own areas. Now in the Kauravas, there was one very, you can say, the chief of the Kauravas. His name was Duryodhan. Okay. So Duryodhan was very, very jealous, and his heart, did not agree that just with this much, everything could get settled. Okay. So he, on the advice of one of his uncles, right, he invited his brother, one of the Pandavas, Yudhishthir, right, for a game of dice. So in earlier times, there were different ways of entertainment. So one of them was a game of dice. And Yudhishthir was quite, drawn to gambling. So it was an issue for him, right? So knowing this weakness, Duryodhan invited Yudhishthir for a game of dice. Okay. So now what happened in this game of dice, Yudhishthir lost everything, every last bit. Okay. He lost everything. And, in the final attempt, right, what was decided was that the Pandavas will go into exile, right? So rather than losing everything, rather than it being taken forever, a final pact was drawn that, okay, uh, the Pandavas, all the five, now only Yudhishthir had gone, but all the five, they're going to go ahead and they're going to go in exile. Okay. So they were given 12 years of this exile plus one. Okay. So the plus one was with a special condition, right? What was the special condition? In that last 1 year, they should go incognito, right? Nobody should be able to discover them. Okay. And if they were discovered in that one last year, the 13th year, their entire 12 years of exile would not be counted. Okay. So this was the catch, this was the condition. So the Pandavas accepted and they went into exile, and it was decided till the time the Pandavas have gone into exile, the Kauravas are going to rule their kingdom. Okay. Now, during this exile, the Kauravas created multiple obstacles, okay, for the Pandavas. But somehow the 12 years were gone, and then in the last year, they made specifically more attempts to cause any kind of hindrance, because last 1 year was having more specifications also, right? So somehow all 13 years were completed successfully by the Pandavas. And this thing was like completed, and they came back to Duryodhan. Okay. And they asked for their rightful share. At this point of time, Duryodhan denied. He said that this is my kingdom and I'm not going to share any part of it, and I'm not even going to give you the space that is covered by a needle, right? That is how much his ego was. So everybody was in shock. Everybody was like, this was not what we agreed upon, right? So at that point of time, the Pandavas consulted multiple people, and it was decided that a war had to be conducted in order to gain back their rightful kingdom, right? That it was necessary to conduct the war. So now, what happened was, in this time, so one of the Pandavas was Arjun. Okay, five brothers were there. One I told you, Yudhishthir, right? And one is Arjun. And on the Kaurav side, we know of Duryodhan already, right? So when all of this thing happened, then both Duryodhan and Arjun, they decided that they will go to Krishna. Okay, so Lord Krishna. So he was ruling the state of Dwarka, right? It is a place in India, right? And they decided that they will go to Lord Krishna because Krishna was one of the most powerful kings at that point of time. Okay. And they said that we will put this matter in front of him as well. So both of them traveled and they reached Lord Krishna. And it so happened in the earlier times, if you will ever see, the setup of the kingdom, you will see this thing that the king used to sit in the center, and then there used to be, chairs like this on the side, both sides, right? And the chair that was closest to the chair of the king, those were the most important ministers. And then as the chairs, they went back, the level of the minister, it reduced, right? So that is how the ministers were seated in the kingdom. So when they entered the kingdom of Lord Krishna, Krishna was sitting on his rightful seat and he was meditating. And Duryodhan, because he had a very big ego and because he knew he's also king, he, by default entered and he took the position which is the chair that is closest to Lord Krishna, right? Because he knew he's quite important and he's also king. So it is his rightful place to go and sit closest to the king. Arjuna, on the other hand, was a very strong devotee of Lord Krishna. So he, by default, when he entered, he went and he sat down on the foot of, like on the feet of Lord Krishna. Okay. So both of them were kings, but see the difference in the approach. Okay. So now by default, when Lord Krishna he opened his eyes, he saw Arjun first and then he saw Duryodhan, right? If something is in front of me, I will see it first. And so suppose somebody is standing in the side or sitting in the side, I will see them later, right? Same thing happened. And because of this reason, Lord Krishna offered the first choice to Arjun. So when the entire incident of the war was told to him, he gave both of them a choice. Okay, he said, I can offer two things to you. Since you have already decided that this war is going to happen, I can either offer myself to you, I can stay on your side, but if I stay on your side, I will not pick up the weapon. Okay, I will not engage in war, I will drive your chariot. Okay. So one option is this, me without any weapons. And second option that you have is you can take my army on your side his army was considered to be the strongest army of that time. Okay. Now already Kauravas were quite too many in number. They were already 100 brothers, right? And Pandavas, there were only five Pandavas only, right? So already they were lacking in the army, right? The manpower, the strength. So what happened was, Arjun, when he was given this choice, because he was such a big devotee, he chose Lord Krishna to be on his side without any weapons. And Duryodhan, he was very happy because any which way, first choice or last choice, he would have always chosen the army that Lord Krishna was offering. So this deal was done and decided, and both of them went back, waiting for the war to take place. They had decided a particular place, a particular timing for the war. Now, before the war happened and after this incident had happened, the timeline between these two incidents, Lord Krishna himself went to Duryodhan so that this thing could be sorted. Okay, because Lord Krishna knew that if this war would take place, there would be a lot of destruction, and it was like an inter-family war, right? So what are you doing killing your own people, right? So as a last attempt, Lord Krishna, as a way to negotiate, he went to Hastinapur, again another place. This is where Duryodhan was at that point of time, and he went there and he requested Duryodhan. So he said that give us 5 cities, if you don't want to return the entire kingdom, give us 5 cities only. We will live, we will rule the kingdom, we will fulfill our responsibility of ruling the kingdom. And we are going to live our lives. 5 cities are more than enough. So Duryodhan denied this thing. So then, Krishna ji, you know how you bargain and bring down the negotiation. So Krishna ji, he said that let's come to 5 villages only. Give us 5 villages. He went from district to villages, right? And then finally he came down to 5 houses. Okay, he said, give us 5 houses over which we can rule. All right. So at this point of time, also Duryodhan did not agree, and he said, take everything from me in war, but I'm not going to offer, right? So at this point of time, Duryodhan also knew that Lord Krishna was a very, very big strength being on the Pandav side. Okay. Even though he decided he will not pick up any weapons. Okay. So now what happened was, because Lord Krishna himself had come to his kingdom, he decided to tie him and capture him, right? So at this point of time, Lord Krishna, he came into his real form, the form of God, okay, where he, warned Duryodhan that he was the source of all creation, the source of the preservance, and the source where when everything and everyone gets destroyed, they return back to this source, right? So he gave the entire, showed his actually real form when this particular incident happened, when Duryodhan tried to do this thing. So eventually, Lord Krishna, he left the kingdom, right? And now we come to the day of the war. Okay. When, just wait a minute. Sorry. So now on the day of the war, was standing on the side. There was a mid line that was created, and both the parties were standing on either side. And in Indian uh, tradition, there was, and in every tradition, there are rules in war, especially in Indian tradition. There was this time given to strategize, right? So before the war started, there was this space, right, where the line was, and then there was some space, and then there were the armies. Okay, so in that space, the both the kings could come before the war began. Both the like kings or the people that they thought they were most you know well educated to strategize, they used to come in that place and see the other army and decide their attacking strategy. Okay, so at this point of time, when Arjun, Lord Krishna was riding his chariot, Arjun asked Lord Krishna to take his chariot to that area where he could come and strategize, right? How they're going to attack. When he came to that uh, area, he saw his entire family standing over there, right? And now, of course, he knew his entire family would be standing over there, but Duryodhan had also played a little bit dirty. Okay, so he had arranged certain people also, and one very specific person he had arranged because he knew Arjun was a very big, you know, um, devotee in general. Okay, so he made sure that the teacher who had taught all of them, okay, Dronacharya, he brought Dronacharya to his side, right? Because Arjun was one of the best that Dronacharya had seen, right? So by default, the bond between Arjun and the teacher, it was very, very deep. Okay, and he knew if not anything else, Arjun will never step against him. Okay, and how can you? Right, the person who has taught you how to pick up a bow and arrow, you are now standing on the other side, you know with 110% possibility that you might be the person killing him, right? So at this point of time, as soon as Arjun saw uh, his teachers standing on the other side, he lost his mind, and he said that there is no point of fighting the war, right? Because I will lose my family. What is the point of the wealth, the kingdom, if I do not have my family and my teacher to share it with? Success, I will have all the success, but I will not have the people to share it with, right? So this deep confusion, this deep conflict arose, and that is why this is called one of Arjun's greatest, or most important war. This war was actually called Arjun's, in his lifetime he fought many wars, but this was one of the most important wars of his entire life, because over here, whatever was normally understood by people in general, he had the same logic, but it was not the correct logic to approach the war with. Okay. And at this point of time, Lord Krishna, he steps in and he guides Arjun, right? And he tells him why he needs to fight the war. Okay. And this entire portion where Lord Krishna is guiding Lord Arjun, why he needs to fight the war. This portion is actually called Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so when you open Bhagavad Gita, it opens with a lot of confusion, it opens with a lot of, you know, helplessness on the part of Arjun, where he has multiple explanations for why he should not fight the war. But Lord Krishna also at the same time, manages this thing, and in the conversation style, he did not stop Arjun. Till now, all the stories I have illustrated or told you, I have always said that when the guru starts speaking, the student doesn't say anything. But no, over here, Lord Krishna recognized the kind of engagement that Arjun needed to have to solve such a deep conflict that rises within. Right? If Lord Krishna would have only transmitted the knowledge, Lord Arjun would not have benefited out of it. Okay? There is no way, because the man was in such a deep conflict, right? He was going to attack, he was going to go against whatever he had known, right? So at this point of time, Lord Krishna doesn't stop uh, Lord Arjun from asking the questions. He answers them with perfection. Okay, you will see when you read the text, you see the quality of the answer that has been given by Lord Krishna, right? That is why this is also considered to be one of the major sources of, understanding the deep reality. It is said that it is enough just to read Bhagavad Gita and the life, right? And you will see a lot of people when they are in some kind of crisis, they fall back to the spiritual texts in general, and in India specifically. A lot of people, they open Bhagavad Gita, or in fact, I'm not saying that everybody opens Bhagavad Gita, but depending on which text is closest to them, right? But it is important to understand it is a universal text, right? You will get something even if you are not a believer, right? I would, in fact, want you to try, especially if you don't believe, right? To read it, see if it makes sense to you, okay? If you see improvement in your life, then it's okay if you don't believe. Don't believe in Hinduism, okay? Don't believe in any of it. But if something is benefiting you, right, you will see the impact. And that is what the work is finally. Especially for a text like Bhagavad Gita, the final work is the implementation. So over here, Arjun and Krishna have good kind of exchange, and they became different schools of view. Right? This entire book has 700 verses. So again, I will stand by my statement. Patanjali is the shortest text to read. Right? Is the easiest one to implement in the life. Okay, there are 700 verses, and this is in easier form also. So there are shlokas, not sutras. Shlok is easier Sanskrit, so it's easy to understand. I will also write the name of a book that I believe, if you are looking, because there are so many translations out there. So there is wait, I'll just write this down. There is a publication which has good translation. So they have given the name of the text Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Gita Press Gorakhpur is the publication. GITAPRESS, Gita Press, and Gorakhpur is a place actually. So Gita Press is actually the name of the publication. Really sorry. So they have gone with very good direct translation. Okay, you will find this thin book. all 700 verses just directly translated. Okay, no deep explanation, right? And when you read like the translation, because they are very deeply into the research of Sanskrit as a language, they have been able to find the most appropriate English translation. Initially, just go for the verse, the translation, the verse, the translation. Okay, you will be able to complete the book in 1 month, 2 months. Okay, then when you find whichever chapter you like the most, again they only have another I don't know if it's there in English, but after this it doesn't matter. Once you find the right chapter for yourself, then you can go and do a deep analysis on that chapter. But I would highly suggest that you read through the entire text once. Okay, just don't skip to the chapter from which we will cover karma yoga or bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. No, don't do this thing. Okay, one time just sentence, then sorry, verse, then translation, verse, translation. This is the best way, in my opinion, to cover the text, because you will have overall knowledge and then you can decide what is best for you. Okay, and then you can go for deep analysis of that thing. The book that I have written, it is either pink covered. Earlier it was pink, and now, even right now, I think they have turned the cover into yellow. Yes. So you guys can go ahead, look for this book, very cheap. I think over here in India we get it for 30 rupees, 30 or 40 rupees. So if you can get a hold of it, this is a good translation. If you are already reading some translation, then go ahead, read that, finish that first. Okay. So any doubts, any queries, questions, any difficulty? No doubts? Okay. Okay. Great. So we will close our session for today. Right. So sit comfortably, keep the back and neck straight. Very gently close your eyes. We will chant Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together. Gently bow down. Begin to rub your palms. Keep them on your eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at your palms. Begin to open up your eyes. Coming back with a big smile. Om Shanti. Namaste to everyone. I will see you for your pranayam class in the afternoon. So take care, guys, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.